come. Spencer Oliver joins us live in the studio this lunchtime. And Simon, one of the many reasons I adore this man is you ask him a question and he comes back with absolute positivity. Spencer, good to see you. How are you? Never better. What an answer. I love that.
Well, listen, no one's going to listen if you say otherwise, are they? So,
exactly.
There you go, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm in good form as always.
And Top Boxing went well earlier in the week with this man, did it?
It certainly did, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good episode. We can get that on the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel.
Straight into the promo mode. Why not? Spencer, you're born for this industry. Let me tell you this. Someone who you admire, and so do I, Simon, who works out of this building, Rory Jennings. talkSPORT's Rory Jennings. Chelsea fan, I think he is.
Bright young thing, yeah, absolutely.
A bright young thing. Rory, if you're listening, that's how we'd like to describe you. Well, this bright young thing, Rory Jennings, was down in Monaco, and he got involved in a bit of a poker event because he plays poker. And who's playing at the same poker event but Chris Eubank Jr.? So the two got together, and Rory, being Rory, the bright young thing that he is, organised a sit-down with Chris Eubank Jr. And he said to Eubank Jr., look, before the fight with Conor Benn, there was a lot of dislike between the two of you. That was clear. Is there a bit more mutual respect now?
I respect him for what he did, how he fought, the mindset he had in that ring. That I do respect, because a lot of fighters don't go to those depths, you know. They shy away from bearing your soul in that ring. He didn't do that. He never gave up. So in that sense, I respect him. But, you know, we also have to remember the fact that he did get caught with performance-enhancing drugs in the system. He's never owned up to that. He's never apologized for that. In that sense, I will never respect him. And I can't break bread with him. I can't shake his hand, because there are kids that are looking at this fight and this whole situation with the drugs. And, you know, me shaking his hand and, oh, congratulations on a great fight, that sends the wrong message to the kids. Oh, what, you can just cheat and then, you know, come back into the ring after a year or two and then everything's okay and it's all forgotten? No, it's not forgotten. What he did was unforgivable. And if you were ever going to forgive him, he has to come clean about it first, which he hasn't. Until that day, me and him will always be, you know, we will never be okay.
Did it surprise you, his resoluteness? Like, prior to the fight, I mean, your prediction was correct, but did the minerals that he displayed on the night surprise you?
Yes. I didn't think he had that type of dog in him. I knew it was in me. I didn't think it was in him. I thought after 4, 5, 6 rounds, I'd break him down physically and mentally, and he would give up. He didn't do that.
And in terms of what's next, so I think the word on everybody's lips, and I'm sure that you've had to answer this an awful lot, but it is the question that everybody's asking. You are undoubtedly the man of the moment in boxing, and once you become that man, everyone wants to know what's next, what's more. Will we see another instalment in this epic affair? Do you see another fight with Conor Benn in your future, or do you feel that that conversation is now closed?
It's up to the public.
Huh.
You know,
if it's up to the public, it's happening, isn't it?
Well, you know, I guess what we do as prize fighters is we fight for the people. You know, if the people want to see something, we provide. That's the job of a fighter. From what I'm hearing, people want to see a rematch. If that is the case, then I will do everything in my power to oblige.
Fantastic. I think everybody will be delighted to hear that there is at least potential for that.
That was Rory Jennings with Chris Eubank Jr. down in Monaco. It appears, Spencer, there is respect from Eubank Jr. to Conor Benn. Not that much respect.
Every guy that steps into a ring, once they compete in a boxing match, and they go through what they go through, and it's only them two that have been through that, you get that mutual respect. That's just natural. That's gladiatorial. What they've been through there. He respects him as a fighter and showed the minerals to show what he was capable of in the ring, which Eubank Jr. just said there. He didn't understand and didn't realise that he had that in him. But I think outside of the ring, he doesn't respect him at all. As a man, as a human being, he doesn't respect him. Because of the foul drugs test.
So then does he disrespect and have no respect for Canelo?
Possibly, yes. Absolutely. And many others as well.
Yeah.
You know,
the point is he makes the big deal about Conor and the situation with Conor, but he has been clamouring, demanding, apparently, the Canelo Alvarez fight. Canelo Alvarez has been found guilty of a failed drugs test.
Yeah.
So I wonder if the same rancor exists in that space.
Well, I mean, there is an argument, Simon, that, all right, Chris Eubank Jr., if you didn't sufficiently respect Conor Benn before the fight, why take it?
Because of the money.
I also think that with the Canelo Alvarez situation...
If he's so against doping, though.
Yeah, but the Canelo Alvarez situation, he was cleared because of contamination of meat. So that was his get out, whereas what he's saying there is Conor Benn has never apologised.
Wasn't that Tyson Fury?
No, was it Canelo as well? Yeah. Contamination of meat because they inject the meat out there.
So when Conor's defence, which was never his, by the way, was contamination of eggs.
Yeah.
It's the same fruit of the same poison tree.
Absolutely.
The reasons why he doesn't have an issue with fighting him is because they're getting paid £10 million or close to it to make the fight.
Each.
However that's cut, somewhere significantly close to those levels.
I would say possibly even more, Simon. Like after the first fight, I mean, that will go down as an all-time British classic, that fight. When you look back in that in years to come, that was a great fight, whatever way you want to look at it. And, you know, forget the backstory with the pair of them and, you know, the weight making, etc., the drug failing. That was a classic, and the public would want to see that again, which will demand more money. I think so,
He's saying they'll deliver it if the public wants it.
Yeah. And I believe that will happen. I think the big sticking point in all of this was Eubank making that weight, going public with the way that he made the weight and the rehydration clause that was put in place. If they can overcome those, I believe, as I'm sure you do, Simon, we do get that fight again.
Oh, I think it's a done deal. I think it's an absolute done deal.
But you didn't want the first one. Do you want the next one?
Listen, the whole event was a piece of marketing genius. I'm not getting carried away. The fight was a barn-burning fight between what I consider to be a declining super middleweight against a yet-to-be-proved welterweight. They couldn't really hurt one another. That's hence the reasons why no one got knocked out. Eubank had to fight the way he fought in the last 3 or 4 rounds because his legs had gone as a result of rehydration and the inability to make the weight comfortably. So if people have enjoyed that, which clearly they have, then there's no reason for it not to go on, irrespective of what I think. And the money side of things will dictate.
Would it be as big, Spencer?
I think it would be bigger. I think because of what they put on it. I mean, let's look at last Saturday night's boxing. You know, when you talked about this big thing that we were having in Times Square with all these big names and the fights that we were meant to be delivered, even with Canelo as well, the day after that against William Scull. You look at those fights and then look at this fight. There's no comparison. If you're a paying punter, you want to see fights like that. You know, like they left their heart and souls in the ring. That is for sure.
How you can rinse. I mean, the big part of this fight was nostalgia. Nostalgia and sentimentality sells.
Yeah. Can you rinse that again?
I don't know, because, you know, you can only make Eubank Sr. appear once out as a surprise, right? If he comes back again after what we've seen, if Chris Eubank Sr., to some extent, catch him in his hypocrisy. If he again appears by his son's side for the next fight, after telling everybody that his son was touch and go as a result of the rehydration or the lack of ability of it, you start to move into the lands of what the hell's going on here. I mean, I think it is beset with hypocrisy, but that doesn't make it not entertainment. It doesn't. This is Disneyfication of sport. This is not 2 elite fighters. Yeah. It is a great fight that the British public likes.
If it goes on again, Spencer, is it the same outcome?
Well, it depends on what the rules and stipulations are going into the fight. You know, we saw the struggles that he had at 160. Is the fight going to be made at 160 again? Because I don't believe Conor can go above that. So I do understand that. Will the rehydration clause be in place? You know, we've got to look at all these things to decide the outcome of that fight, because I think that Conor Benn come out with a lot of merit the way he performed in that fight, the way that he dug deep, the way that he hurt Eubank a number of times. You know, it was his first step up to that sort of level. And he delivered in many ways. But, you know, so it depends on the outcome, depends on what the rules and regulations are going into the contest. Question I wanted to ask you, actually, Simon, would you attend the next one, going off the back of what you saw in that one? Because for entertainment
I don't
value,
know.
and you're a
Good
boxing
question,
fan,
Spencer.
you're a boxing fan, you've got to look at that and go, do you know
come with
what?
me
That
this
was
time,
a
wouldn't you?
great
Yeah,
fight to be
come
at.
on.
I'd speak to a lot of people recently over the last couple of weeks that are neutral in terms of their investment in whether it was a good fight or a bad fight. And they're all surprised at the hysteria that the boxing fraternity seems to be voicing towards how wonderful this fight was. It was a bar brawl between two fighters that showed...
But isn't that what the public want to see in many ways?
And if they do, I understand it. If you've sold 620,000 buys for Benn versus Eubank, you sold 300,000 buys for Better Beer versus Bivol, there's an argument for it. I'm not so ideologically aligned to going to a second fight, but I still maintain the same view as I had in the first fight, was, great, fantastic. Eddie, you make a lot of money. Ben, you've made a lot of money. The two boys have made a lot of money. Sport's about entertainment. If it entertains you, are you not entertained? I guess people are.
No,
You'll be there.
Listen, the boxing purist, and that is a minute amount of people, the people that really appreciate the sweet science, they will be the ones that go, I want to see those fights that are technically not great to watch, but technically great inside the ring. But the bar brawl is for the casual side.
But Jim, they've done it, right? So it now becomes cynical. Because we all know that this is a fight that traded off the great deeds of their fathers, that people like Hearn were able to turn the nostalgia and the sentimentality up. We've seen a good fight, right? These two boys now have made a lot of money, and I don't blame them for making some more. But in the interests of what the sport should exhibit, which is meritocracy, they should go off and fight for world titles.
Okay.
Agree.
They won't. They'll fight for the money.
In the meantime, well done, Rory Jennings, securing that sit-down with Chris Eubank Jr. down in Monaco. And you can watch the whole thing. We just showed you a clip of it. You can watch the whole thing, that interview, on the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. We are at 12:15 this Thursday lunchtime. This lunchtime. We're coming live as well on YouTube and your smart TV. And for those watching, you're about to see they're about to head down under, because I think it's about 9:20 at night in Australia. But that is where we're headed next, because they're 1 month away from Fabio Wardley's Ipswich Stadium fight. It will no longer be against the American Jarrell Miller. Instead, in comes the Australian Justus Huni. And this fella can fight. He has a perfect record after 12 fights, with 7 of those wins coming inside the distance. He's waiting to speak to us now in Brisbane, Australia. Justus, hi, how are you?
Hey, mate. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on.
We're delighted to have you on. I'm with Simon Jordan, and I'm with former boxer, of course, you'll know him, Spencer Oliver. So listen, what was your reaction when you and Mick Francis got the phone call? All right, Jarrell Miller is no longer involved. You've got a chance to come in and fight Fabio Wardley at Ipswich. What was your reaction to that?
I just took it as a massive opportunity, you know. Opportunities like that don't come around every day. So, yeah, I had to grab it with both hands. And, yeah, since then I've been running with it. You know, just got to working really hard. It was short notice, but, you know, 5 weeks, I feel like it's plenty of time.
Justus, that is a huge opportunity for you, but it's a massive step up as well. You know, we've seen you in the ring with the likes of Kevin Lorena, who's a great operator, and you come through that one and, you know, you got the victory there. But, you know, coming into Wardley's backyard, what are you expecting there? Because it will be a hostile crowd and a big step up for you.
Yeah, look, for me, I feel no pressure going over there, you know. I'm not really that known on that side of the world. So, you know, it's going to be awesome for me to get new eyes onto myself and, you know, show and display what I can do in the boxing ring.
Stylistically, you both like to come forward. You both like to throw big shots. So we will expect some form of barnstormer there, won't we?
Yeah, of course. Look, this is heavyweight boxing. You know, all it takes is one punch, and you know, I'm looking to operate smoothly on the outside. And you know, if it comes to staying in the pocket and working in close, then I'm pretty good at doing that as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good boxing match.
And we know this, Justus, that you're stable mates with Jai Opetaia. I met up with him in Riyadh not that long ago, along with Mick Francis, the trainer. Do you work out with Jai? Do you watch what he does and think, yeah, if he does that, I'll do that?
We do a little bit of work together. I don't really work out with him that much. We don't train out of the same gym, but we're very close to each other. So yeah, it's always good and inspiring to see what he's done in the cruiserweights, and I just want to do the same in the heavyweight division.
How did you make that decision to take this opportunity? I mean, you've only had 12 fights. You've been a pro for sort of like 5 years now, but sort of not been the most active. You get this opportunity that's presented to you. How do you make that decision to say, yeah, because you are a prospect coming through, but a lot of people would say it's too soon for you at this stage of your career, but you've taken the gamble for this.
Yeah, that's it, man. Like I said, opportunities like this don't come around every day. And if I didn't take it, I don't know when I'll get the opportunity or a call up again in the future. So, I felt like this is my coming out party, and what better way to do it than to go over to Fabio's hometown and to prove to the world that I've got what it takes.
Justus, I mean, Fabio Wardley, I've got to say we like him. We like you as well, Justus, but we like Fabio. He can talk and he's a decent man. But he can fight, can't he? And he can fight, and he can fight hard. You know exactly what you're going to get. This is your biggest test, obviously. No one needs to say that. But what will it take for you to cause a major upset here and beat him in Ipswich?
Just to dig deep and to box smart, try not to get caught up in fighting his fight. As everyone knows, he carries a lot of power. So, I just want to box smart, get my punches off, and, stick and move.
There's a lot on the line for both of you guys, isn't there, with your WBO ranking and his WBA #1 ranking as well. The winner of this fight catapults himself right onto the world stage.
Yeah, that's it. And, it comes back to the opportunity. That was another thing that, got me over the line, was that this fight not only is massive for myself, but it opens up bigger and better doors, and it sets me up for life. So, I couldn't not take this fight. It's too big to just let it go past.
Just as I take it, that you will be travelling over to fight in the Ipswich Town Football Club Stadium. And Ipswich Town is the football club supported by Fabio Wardley. Last time when the fight was announced, it's now no longer happening because Jarrell Miller isn't involved. You are, but Jarrell Miller showed up in a Norwich City shirt. Ipswich Town's big rivals. Are you going to take a leaf out of that book?
I actually don't know. Is that soccer? I'm actually not too familiar with what team is big over there, but look, I'm just coming over there to do one job, and that's to come over there and prove myself and give the fight fans over there entertaining fight. So let's go.
It is soccer, Justus, and I love the answer. Simon is beside me. Simon, you always say Antipodeans, they get my vote in whatever industry.
I lived in Australia and had business there, so I'm a great admirer of them. Obviously, I've got a British guy in my mindset, but I'm curious to see what you think of him as a fighter, Justus. I mean, people will be painting you as the underdog. Do you see yourself that way? And what do you think of him as a fighter?
I think he's very strong, and look, he comes to fight every time he gets in that ring. So, I've got a big challenge in front of me. And, look, I'm just looking to come over there and overcome that challenge. That's pretty much it. I've done this my whole life, and, I feel like I'm ready for big moments like this. And,
do you see yourself,
I'm ready to come over there and prove it.
Do you see yourself as the underdog? Are you happy to be painted that way? Do you believe that to be the case?
Yeah, I believe that. Look, this is his homecoming fight. So, I'm gonna try and disrupt that as much as I can. I'm gonna come over there and put on a good fight for the fight fans, like I said.
Good stuff. Well, Justus, your man Mick Francis sent me a picture of you the other day in action, and my God, You're quite an awesome sight. So I'm pretty sure Fabio Wardley knows what is coming his way. Justus over in Brisbane, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, boys.
What a good lad he is. 1 month away from the fight between Fabio Wardley and the man you've just been hearing, Justus Huni. And he knows what he's getting into. Of course he does. I love that. I see it as a major chance. You bet I'm going to grab it.
Absolutely. Listen, the kid's got a wealth of experience as an amateur. He's turned pro and he's got this opportunity early. But boxing is all about opportunity. And I think that, with what's on the line here, like I say, he's got a good WBO ranking. And there's that WBA #1 ranking on the line as well. You go, listen, you've got to take those opportunities.
Right.
He's 26 years of age now.
Yeah.
He's a kid that likes to come, have a fight. He can whack a little bit. Why not? I think at this stage, a loss doesn't determine your career, being over. If he doesn't come through this one, he's sort of like his stock has rose because he will deliver a good fight, whatever, win, lose or draw. This kid will come to fight.
It'd be interesting to see how his personality comes to the fore, Justus, because, Frank Warren is a brilliant matchmaker. So he will have picked a fighter that will make a decent fight. It'll be interesting to see, because obviously Fabio had something to rub up against with Jarrell Miller. Whatever you think of Jarrell Miller, and I think he's a bore. I think he's a boorish thug. But he is also a great press conference guy because he will say dreadful things. He will be offensive and he'll give you something to push back against. I'm not sure that this guy will, but notwithstanding it, we'll see when he gets over here. Should be a good fight.
Stylistically, it will be a great fight. I mean, he's a great substitute opponent, that's for sure, because we've got a kid that's actually coming to win, a kid that's got a lot of ambition, undefeated fighters. That see that this is a huge opportunity.
A lot of pressure on Fabio.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've seen Kell Brook, fall at that hurdle with Errol Spence in front of his own crowd. We've seen Tony Bellew succeed. Fighting in front of your own crowd.
Absolutely.
It's a difficult thing.
Well, that fight is 1 month away. There's one coming up this weekend. The All-British Clash for the IBO Super Featherweight title is on the line. And with our friends at DAZN, you can watch Cacace against Wood this Saturday live on DAZN. Sign up at dazn.com/boxing. We'll talk about that, lad. We'll see what he's made of when he comes over here. It should be some fight a month from now in the Ipswich Town Stadium against Fabio Wardley. That is then before that. This coming weekend, there is another big one because the former world champions Anthony Cacace and Leigh Wood will meet in a super featherweight battle at the Nottingham Motorpoint Arena for the IBO title. I am delighted to say that Leigh Wood's trainer Ben Davison joins us live on the show this lunchtime. And this is Ben ahead of the press conference later. So we're going to hear more from the two fighters later. We're going to hear from you right now. Leigh Wood, how is he shaping up? How's he feeling about it?
No, he's all good. He's an experienced professional, as they both are. Been a while out of the ring, but training camp's gone well. In that time that he wasn't active and fighting, he always kept himself in the gym. So, like I say, he's the ultimate professional and he's in great shape.
Great fight, this one, Ben, for Leigh Wood at this stage of his career. Like you say, inactivity has played a part, in recent times. How much will that be a factor going in against Cacace, who has been active, but, he's a very tough, good fighter himself? I mean, this is a great fight.
It is, and Anto's on a fantastic run himself. The answer to how will the inactivity play out, from what I can see in the gym, everything's been good. However, I can't give you a definite answer because we'll find out on the night. But that's what we're all tuning in for. I think what's fantastic is the styles. I think that it's going to make for an entertaining fight, which always is with Leigh Wood, to be honest. I think I blame him for the receding hairline and the penalty spot coming up on the back of the head. But
the penalty spot. I've never heard it described as that, Ben. I love it.
That's brilliant. Listen, it's the first time him now stepping out of he's been known as a featherweight for his career. He's now up to super featherweight. Is that a big advantage for him? Because he's always been so big for a featherweight. I've always wondered how he made the weight. Surely this will suit him much better stepping up in weight.
Well, you'd imagine so, but Anto's also a big lad. I think, the cuts, being honest, to make featherweight were horrific and just got worse and worse and worse fight by fight, to be totally honest. So hopefully that won't take as much out of him. But, Anto Cacace is going to be bigger than the featherweights that he was boxing. So how that transcends, I do believe Leigh Wood's the type of puncher where size doesn't matter. He hits hard enough where if he's hitting you clean, he's good, or doesn't even have to hit you clean, to be honest. he can put you away. I think that if you're a genuine puncher, you're a puncher at any weight, and that's the case with Leigh Wood. But he's going to be a lot healthier, less of a cut, so hopefully that transcends into the fight.
Surely, Ben, that Anthony Cacace holds a significant advantage going into this over Leigh, because while Leigh was inactive, Cacace was impressive in 2024. Saw him defeat Joe Cordina for the IBF super featherweight title and then defend the belt against Josh Warrington. I mean, these are big names.
They are, yeah. They're fantastic wins. And I think that the pair of them are fantastic role models, because everybody wants the Floyd Mayweather type career, but they both took losses along the way. They've both stuck at it, and they've both, managed to achieve their dreams, which is phenomenal. And, even though Anto's an opponent, it's fantastic for me to see, and fantastic for fighters coming through that have obstacles along the way. It's great for them to see as well. Is he at an advantage? Potentially, of course. Will Leigh's time out the ring and that bit of rest of not competing, will that have done his body good? Potentially. Again, I can't say for a fact. We like to think that it will be a benefit to Leigh having had a rest and off the back of a hard run. So, we know that it's a great fight. We know that it's a tough fight. They're two. I think the only thing that I can tell you for sure is that it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, Simon, Ben, at this stage, I always turn to Simon and say, all right, well, you weren't having X, Y, and Z. Are you having this one? So are you having this one?
Oh, all day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? I mean, Cacace's been in great form. Leigh Wood is an absolute stalwart. When he was in the studio a couple of weeks ago, he comes across brilliantly. He thinks about what he does.
Yeah.
It's a difficult fight to pick. I mean, Cacace's in such good nick. And Leigh Wood, having been out for 18 months, is a factor. But Ben will equalise that in what he's doing. Leigh Wood thinks about the way that he fights. So the one thing that I think you're going to see is both fighters, like Adam Booth said the other day, are going to get hurt in this fight. But we're going to see an absolutely world-class level fight.
I think that Leigh Wood's one of those fighters that when his back's up against the wall as well, he sort of
gets
feeds
motivated.
off that.
Yeah,
He gets motivated off that. And I think that, that is a point going into this contest. I saw both guys have a lot of respect for each other as well, Ben. I saw the face-off earlier on, actually, and they couldn't help but laugh at each other. There's that mutual respect, isn't there? You rarely see that these days. There's more pushing, shoving, and, all sorts of glasses flying and whatnot. But these two are, they know what they're going into, don't they?
Yeah, and you know what? It just goes back to, I know Leigh Wood, so I can say it about Leigh Wood, but he's one of the best humans in and out of boxing that I've met. And I don't know Anto, but he seems like a fantastic, great lad as well. And that's why I said again that they're both fantastic role models. I'm not 100% sure that both fighters have the potential to get hurt, but I also think that both fighters, if they get the other one hurt, have the potential to get rid of the other one, because they're both good finishers, they're both good punchers, and I think that like I said, I think it's going to be one hell of a fight. And I think he's nigh on a sellout in Nottingham. So, yeah, it's a really intriguing one.
Ben, I get the impression, although Leigh Wood is your man, emotionally, you're split here.
No, obviously not. I'm just, do you know what it is? I'm a realist. I'm not going to sit here and, they're both good guys. You have to be aware of the opponent's strengths and weaknesses. Leigh Wood, I don't know Anto, but I have no reason to talk bad about him and to talk smack. Nobody's turning up to see me. I don't need to talk smack about him. They're turning up and interested in the fighters, so I don't need to talk smack about anybody.
I think it's fair to say that they both have the ability to take each other out, and I think it's, one false move and it's checkmate for the other guy. That's where you're at with it here, because that's the sort of level you're at the moment.
And Spencer, in the time we have left with Ben, you also trained Fabio Wardley. Moments ago, Ben, this hour live in talkSPORT, we spoke to the replacement fighter who will face Wardley in Ipswich Town Stadium, and that is Justus Huni, the young Australian down under in Brisbane. And he's coming, he can whack, as Spencer says. No longer Jarrell Miller, it's Justus Huni. I mean, this guy will bring a considerable threat. And, he's got, I think to a degree, he's got youth on his side. So he can't wait to get the opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's at this level. I was just talking about the Leigh Wood Anto Cacace fight. We're now talking about the potential. Originally, it was Jarrell Miller. Then we're talking about potential other names. They're all tough fights when you get to this level. That's the reality of it. And of course, Justus Huni. I think he was a world bronze medalist. He's a really, really well skilled, good fighter. It looks like, I think he's joined a new team. He looked fantastic in his last fight. But I was just listening there when Spencer said that it's a lot of pressure with. Simon, when Simon said there's a lot of pressure, going into your own crowd, and that's what I think that stands out with Fabio. I think it's just water off a duck's back to him. I think that with his background, the lack of expectations on him originally in his career, I think he's just got the attitude of F it, to be honest with you, and I think that really works for him, because if you say to him, you've got to take a risky move here, he doesn't think twice. He'll commit to it, and I think that really works for him, and I think that's what stands out for him. And I think that, it is typically a lot of pressure to a big show in your hometown.
Yeah.
But I think it's just water off a duck's back for Fabio.
Okay, a lot of messages coming in here at this end, Ben. A namesake of yours, Ben the Forest fan. Come on, Leigh Wood. Do it for Nottingham. He's one of the nicest blokes I've ever met, says Ben the Forest fan. Before you go, Ben Davison, you also train Anthony Joshua. Last we heard he was having a hand operation. Where's he at?
Yeah, I think he's been waiting to see if that injury will heal. I haven't caught up with him yet to find out what the latest is on that. He's still able to tick over, but I think obviously nobody wants to have an operation if you don't have to. So he's been trying to do some rehab work to see if that gets solved. If not, it is a operation, unfortunately. I don't know the ins and outs of it at the moment, to be honest, but we'll see.
I understand it's the elbow, isn't it, Ben? He's got something wrong with his elbow, not his hand.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay, hand, elbow, Ben, one of them. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. Pass on our best to Leigh Wood and Anthony Cacace, two great pros, of course. And this weekend, remember, it is the All-British Clash for the IBO Super Featherweight title. That is on the line. And with our friends at DAZN, you can watch Cacace Wood this Saturday live on DAZN. Sign up at dazn.com/boxing.
Win a once-in-a-lifetime trip to watch the Champions League final live.
Achtung, baby.
Yep, the biggest night in European football at one of Europe's biggest stadiums in a city known for the biggest steens, and we want to send you there. That's right, the Champions League final in Munich later this month. A pair of tickets, flights, hotel room and $5,000. All on us, because that's what we're like. 18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win that VIP trip, simply text the word final to 83338 by the 16th of May at 11 in the evening. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You have to have the bill payer's permission. Or send your name and number by post to Champions League final competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester, CO2 8GP, to arrive by 5 in the evening on the 21st of May.
This is a talkSPORT Limited competition run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
In the time we have left with Spencer Oliver this lunchtime, Simon and I, with Spencer, are going to discuss one or two of the stories in and around the boxing world. And Spencer, from Times Square to Riyadh, did the 48 hours of special boxing fail to hit the heights? Ryan Garcia suffered a shock points loss in Times Square to Rolando Romero. But post the doping scandal, Spencer, was this the real Ryan Garcia that we saw in the night?
Unfortunately, it looks that way. I mean, you look at the dip in the performance there. Garcia was awful against Romero. You looked at it and you just, like, his timing was out. He was single-shotting and, like, his punch resistance had totally gone. He got caught in the second round, dropped in the second round as well. So it weren't the Garcia that we had seen previously to the dope testing failure.
Yeah.
So it was very disappointing from Garcia, but taking nothing away from Romero, who delivered it and got the job done. But it was a very disappointing Ryan Garcia, and that killed that fight that was being set up or potentially being talked about with Conor Benn.
Well, I also wonder, Simon, if it's killed the Garcia Haney rematch for good, because he was a shadow of himself.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of fights on that card that disappointed. This is not. We saw Garcia come up. We saw him beat the new mayor of Hull, didn't we, Luke Campbell, and eclipse that idea that Luke was going to win a world title. But look, I'm not a fan of his, and I thought there was a lot of hype behind it, and it may well be proving to be the case. Yeah. I mean, we've gone from having mental issues to drug issues to all kinds of issues with this kid, and there seems to be a lot more style and a lot less substance. But there was also a lot of the fights. I mean, Spence, we were talking about it the other day. I mean, the only fight that stood out for me was Teofimo Lopez against Arnold Barboza, which was a brilliant fight.
Well, because Canelo Alvarez really disappointed, didn't it? Yeah. I mean, he beat this fellow William Scull. I love his name. But at the same time, this was a shadow of Canelo Alvarez from the past.
It was, and I think that as fighters get older, and Canelo's been a pro now since he was 15 years of age, he's been around a long time, so you have to adapt and change your style slightly, and you know, he's a lot more flat-footed now, and he throws single shots, he loads up with everything to the body, to the head, and William Scull didn't want to fight, and when you've got a guy that doesn't want to fight, it's very difficult to look good against. Scull was like, you know, he looked like a long-distance runner, if I'm totally honest. He was on his back foot all the time, he didn't want to engage at all. I think that Canelo done what he had to do, but it wasn't impressive. I think that Terence Crawford, that fight was announced for September the 12th. He was sitting in the crowd. We saw him actually on his phone at one point. He was totally disengaged with that performance. And, not impressed whatsoever. That's the fight that we're looking forward to. That's the fight where we see Canelo deliver a little bit more, I think, against someone like Terence Crawford. But, yeah, it was a negative performance from Scull, and I think that was why it was a poor performance by Canelo.
What about Martin Bakole? Before we leave it today, Bakole had returned to competition quickly after Joseph Parker knocked him out in just 2 rounds, and that was just only in February, Spencer.
Yeah.
And there we saw him go in against Efe Ajagba, and that resulted in a draw. But there was a lot of finger pointing at, look at the state of Martin Bakole. Surely he's got to toughen up in terms of his physique. And Billy Nelson, who I know well, Bakole's trainer, spoke to Ring Magazine on that topic.
What's happening in the future, whether Martin likes it or not, we're getting a nutritionist in. Mm-hmm. We're going to hire a nutritionist. The problem with being a nutritionist is what people don't understand is Martin is a vegetarian, and he's a bit stubborn. And in respect, he doesn't eat much British food. Everyone's African Congolese food. And he buys it in certain shops in Glasgow. So I don't know. I mean, a nutritionist will help, undoubtedly. He's got to be stricter, much more stricter and disciplined with himself. But I'm also bringing in an American strength conditioning coach. I think that'll be very beneficial for Martin.
Well, I like Billy, but I've yet to visit that African Congolese vegetarian shop in Glasgow, but I will. What's going on with him?
Look, Martin Bakole is an incredible talent. You know, I've witnessed him over the years sparring a lot, you know, down our gym with Derek Chisora and a number of other fighters. And, you know, this guy has a lot of ability. But outside of the boxing ring, outside of the boxing gym, he's obviously living the wrong life. And in the world that we live in today, you've got to be the ultimate professional. You have to get your diet in check, whether you like it or not. If you're going to be a world champion or compete at that sort of level, get your diet in check, lose the weight. I mean, he weighed 310 pounds when he got that opportunity against Joseph Parker, which was just a couple of months before. And he was out of shape then. Yeah. He weighed 300 pounds coming into this fight. When he was training for a fight, he's lost 10 pounds. And this guy was so big at the time. You go, losing 10 pounds, you could do that in a session. So I go, you have to sort your diet out if you want to be taken seriously. A guy that was considered the danger man of the heavyweight division is now not considered that. And that's purely because of lifestyle. You've got to live the life.
Okay. I tell you where we're going, Simon. We are going to direct all of our listeners and all of our viewers down to the O2 here in London, because that's where you will find Hawksby and Baker with the British and Irish Lions squad announcement, more or less imminent, from Simon and myself and the wonderful Spencer Oliver. That is it for today. I'll be back tomorrow at 10. We're coming up to 1 o'clock.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.